Hey guys, happy last Saturday of 2019. Oh my gosh. So anywho, I hope you guys had some wonderful holidays. I know we're coming up on the new year and then after the like worldly new year, we have Chinese New Year coming up, and I hear it is the year of the rat. Let's see, I'm trying to, who is rat in my family? My mom. My mom is rat. My brother is a rabbit. My dad is a dragon, and I am a rooster. So it's probably going to be a while before the rooster comes back around. But yeah, anyway, I hope all is well. Hope it's not too hot or too cold, depending on where you are and which hemisphere you're in. But yeah, so I have a few things all set aside for us today, and I have my tea steeping. And I don't expect a whole lot of people in the chat today just because, some people still have family over right now and people are like out traveling and all that good stuff. Lady night, hey, hey. So yeah, but yeah, I hope you guys had, a really good Yule, solstice, whether it was summer solstice or winter solstice. She's like, I'm here. And then, if you celebrate Hanukkah or Christmas or, whatever it may be, I hope you guys had fun. And then I know that on the 26th through, I believe, the 1st, we have Kwanzaa here in the States. And I know there's some other things going on. My friend Steph out in Belgium, they said they celebrate Christmas, but their like huge thing is the Feast of Saint Nicholas. So that was like the week before Christmas. So they had their huge celebration then. And then I have a friend out in the Ukraine who she said like their Christmas is technically January 7th. So their major holiday hasn't hit yet. So it's always so interesting to see like, around the solstice time, how different cultures celebrate. And Barbara's here. Hello. Welcome. But yeah, I always just think it's interesting, how different deities are represented, or like how we bring in like the change of season, depending on, where you are. I just think it's pretty awesome. So anyway, like I said, I have my tea steeping. It's a little too hot to drink right now, but it's my, it's like a mixture of green tea and black tea and like kind of an oolong tea. So I don't burn my lips off, I'm gonna let that steep right now. Of course, I'll have to have the kitty mug. But I had a, I guess I'll do my Christmas / Yule recap, because I got, some things from Yule for Yule, especially from some friends. I have my homegirl, Jasmina. I keep calling her Yasmina, but that's just because, how I'm raised, everything with a J has the yeah sound. So, Jasmina, out in Jersey, she got me like a few things and decks of cards, and I got like a surprise gift yesterday, which was really cool and really nice. And then for Christmas, I think one of my biggest gifts came from the dude, and he got me a new stereo for my truck. Actually, I kind of knew about that one because we had to drop my truck off at the stereo place. So I haven't had a working stereo in a few years. So usually I have to blast my cell phone in my truck, which I know is kind of ghetto, but probably would be the equivalent of what some of my friends did in college, which I had a friend named Big Rich who was on the track team with us. The reason we called him Big Rich is because he was 6'10" and he was our 400-meter runner. Anyway, he had like a little mini boom box like just below his shifter on his truck, and so that way he could play CDs and like blast music, because his stereo didn't work. So he had like a little boom box as his stereo in his truck. And for me, I had my little cell phone because the CD player didn't work anymore and my speakers were blown. So anytime you turned on the radio, it was like bzz, bzz. So yeah, as a Christmas gift, the dude got me a new stereo. It's got like the fancy like touch screen stuff. I'm like, ooh, how do you turn it off? It's got the Apple Play and all of that. And then once he put it in, he didn't know that my speakers were blown. I'm like, oh yeah, they were blown. So then he's like, well, I can't get you a new stereo and no speakers because then you still can't play the stereo. So he's like, well, that's lame. So he went and got me speakers too. And he's like, your gift got a little more expensive than I thought it was gonna get. So I'd say that was like my biggest gift, and I appreciate it. Now I don't have to, listen to my cell phone or play music in my brain and listen to the music in my brain and I'm like singing to music that nobody else can hear. um, let's see. My aunt, she made her famous like trail mix. She makes like her own little like graham sort of oatmeal-y trail mix. So we get like little packets of trail mix from her every year. So I'll probably have that eaten in like a day. And then she makes this giant kind of butter cookie, but only for certain people because otherwise she says it's such a hassle. Like the butter cookie is like this big and it's shaped kind of like a donut and it has like, kind of a cool design on it, and it's so delicious and it's like so evenly cooked and there isn't like a overly brown spot on it. Like it's so good. She's really a good baker. She says she just gets kind of lazy. So she makes one for the dude because he complained that one year where he was like, where's my butter cookie? And she was like, well, aren't you high and mighty? People just whip up butter cookies. And he's like, yeah, I expect a butter cookie. So she's like, okay. She says, only Brian and my best friend get a butter cookie, so they better feel damn special. um, yeah, so let's see. I got, of course, a lot of Hello Kitty stuff because Hello Kitty. And oh, and Abundance Tarot is here. Hey, hey, and she says good evening. Well, good evening. And let's see what else. Oh, I got a book from my stepmom. She was like, I mean, she's like a college professor. I expect I'm gonna be getting books from her. So I got the Complete Illustrated Guide to Crystal Healing. So I haven't really had a chance to read it yet because I'm reading something else that I bought before, and now I've kind of had a little bit of time during this winter break, sort of. I mean, yesterday I think was the first time I actually had like some time to do stuff, because otherwise I've been cleaning, preparing for my dude's older brother that came to stay with us for a few days, family stuff, lots of baking. And Lori is here. Hey, Lori. So yeah, I mean, so far it looks pretty cool, just kind of like flipping through it. Let me read you guys well, actually, I'll show you. It's very illustrated, so it's got lots of cool stuff in it. The table of contents. Let's see what's in the table of contents. Let's see. So first unit is about crystal structure and care. Then there's stuff about crystal healing, color and light, crystals and chakras, skills for crystal healing, crystals for balancing the fine levels, working deeper with crystals, crystal techniques for well-being, world traditions of crystal healing, and then just like a directory of stuff. So, I don't know. Sounds kind of cool. Yes, crystal books are always nice, and I love it, yes, when they are illustrated, as I am a very visual person. I mean, I don't mind reading non-picture books, but I like color. Okay, so the book that I am reading right now, and when I finish this one, I'll get to that illustrated guide to crystal healing, is The Stories in Stone, a field guide to cemetery symbolism and iconography. And this is really unique. Like, it's not just a little like dictionary of like symbols and what they mean, which is interesting, because sometimes you think that, or at least I think that, when I go into a cemetery, usually it's, the reason I go into a cemetery, I'd say at least once a year, is for my dad on Thanksgiving. He always likes to go to the cemetery and pay respects to his sister who died when she was like 17. So she's like buried right over at Holy Cross. And so my brother and I always liked looking at all the different like headstones and mausoleum and, things like that. And, and it's, and like the sarcophagus that they have like above ground. and we always just like are so interested, like what does all that mean? And apparently there's like symbolism for each and everything that's on there, and that directly ties into who that person was in life, which I think is really interesting, because I love ancient Egypt. I've kind of like loved it since I could start reading, or maybe even before, because I was like looking at my Nana's King Tut book. There was a book of King Tut that I used to look at since I was like 3 years old before I could read, and I was just looking at the pictures, and I just thought it was so interesting that people could erect all this beautiful stuff, but it all means something. It's not just pretty pictures, and it's not just stuff you throw in with them for the afterlife, but like it all means something. And it's interesting that even in today's modern era, where it seems like stuff is just made to look pretty, or look dramatic, but it all still kind of means something for the most part. And it's pretty interesting. There's some interesting stories about the way that certain people were buried like on purpose because of what they did in life, which I thought was pretty unique. Let's see. Abundance said no, but when it talks about crystals, I want crystal pictures. Yes. Lady Knight said, looks old. I don't think this book is very old. I took the dust jacket off because I think sometimes books look better when they're in their fabric form without the dust jacket. This is 2004. So not too bad. Who is the author? Douglas Keister. So, yeah. I don't know. Not that you guys can probably see. It's like too small. I saw that book on Instagram. I put it on my wish list. Oh my gosh, that's where I saw it, was Instagram. I was like, ooh. So it was on my wish list for a little bit, and then I don't know. I decided like before Christmas, I was like, this will be like my little Christmas gift to myself. Hold on, let me put my little bookmark back in. I believe I was in the Flora section. Okay. So here's like a little story for you guys. So you guys know the like Pullman cars on trains, right? Created by George Pullman. So it says, I believe it was on the Black and the Moon creator page. Yes. That's where I saw it. I love Claire from, Claire Goodchild. Yeah, from Black and the Moon. I have like a couple of her decks, and I love her the way she sets up her pictures. She has really good eye, in photography. I really like it. So I was like, that looks interesting. So yeah, that's where I saw it. Okay, so it says, like they're talking about different types of like grave setups. Like one is called an exedra. An exedra is like there goes that bookmark again. An exedra is when it kind of almost looks like a living room setup, where they said originally this kind of like came from ancient Greece, but you in Greece they wouldn't allow people to be buried within the city, only without the city. So there's a lot of burial sites leading up to the major city in Greece. So not buried in Greece, they're the major city in Greece, so like Athens. There's all these tombs and grave sites leading up to Athens, but it was like strictly forbidden that you couldn't be buried within the city limits. So they said it was like a multi-step process to bury somebody. So first you would bury them and you'd create like a big mound, so you kind of knew where the body of your loved one was. Then as you got more funds, you'd come back, have like another funeral, and you would put almost like a table on top of the mound, so that you could put like food and cheese and wine and all of that, so that you could have like another like funeral party, whenever that was that you got funds again. So great. So now you have a mound with a table on top, and then as you got more money, then you could make kind of like these rounded couches, almost like stone couches or stone benches, not couches, but it kind of is the like modern living room, where you have like the coffee table in the middle, and you have like couches or sofas surrounding it. Well, that's kind of the way they had it for the little like funeral sites, the plot sites. So you have like this rounded mound, you have like a tabletop on top, and then you have these seated areas, so that everybody is facing the deceased person, and you could talk about them and have a party and eat and drink wine and eat cheese and have grapes or whatever it is. And you could come back, year after year, once it's all done, and basically commune with your loved one. And I thought that was really interesting. And so they say that some of these like old ways of doing things are kind of like mixed in our modern cemeteries, which is interesting. But for Mr. George Pullman, the inventor of the Pullman car, the sleeping car, hold on, where did I see that one? Okay, here we go. The corpse of George Pullman, inventor of the sleeping car, rests securely beneath an exedra-like monument. Pullman's is the most securely buried body in all of Chicago, with the possible exception of some of Al Capone's enemies, who call the bottom of the Lake Michigan home. It seems that George Pullman died not long after a bitter strike by Pullman workers. The workers were irritated when Pullman cut their wages, but did not cut their rents at the Pullman-owned housing. Like, what a D. Fearing desecration of Pullman's corpse, his relatives had his coffin covered in tar paper and asphalt. The asphalt-encrusted coffin was sunk in a block of concrete the size of a small room. Then the whole mass was lowered into the ground and topped with railroad ties and more concrete, an entombment to thwart even the most aggressive body snatcher. Like, that, like, just the way you were buried shows that you were probably a huge jerk. And Juvity is here. Hey! Says, hi everyone. Sorry I'm late and hope I didn't miss too much. You did not. I am just talking about a book that I am enamored with as of late. Yeah, they wanted to be sure he didn't come out. Yeah. Yep. And then also for, I kind of knew a little bit about, Napoleon Bonaparte being brought back to France, but I didn't know like the whole story. Okay, so for he has more of like the sarcophagus kind of looking thing, like above ground, like this is actually where Napoleon is buried. And then this is somebody kind of copying kind of Napoleon's burial type, people with money, obviously. Okay, so it says Napoleon Bonaparte died in May 5th, 1821 on the island of St. Helena. Exiled from his native France. According to his last testament, I desire that my ashes should rest on the banks of the Seine, amid the French people whom I have so loved. Alas, Napoleon was buried on a grave covered with an unmarked slab in a secluded spot on St. Helena. Yeah, it is very interesting. But 20 years later, after the political winds had changed, Napoleon's remains were disinterred and brought back to France. Architect Louis Tullio Joachim Visconti's design was chosen for a crypt to be constructed beneath the dome of the Invalides in Paris. The sarcophagus, designed by Monsieur de Montferrand and modeled on the ancient Roman sarcophagus of Scipio that resides in the Vatican, was placed at the center of the crypt. The sarcophagus was a gift from a Russian Tsar. The 36-foot diameter crypt is ringed by statues and contains two bas-reliefs of the Prince de Joinville, who helped negotiate the return of Napoleon's remains to France. In one, he is observing the exhumation of Napoleon's coffin in St. Helena, and the other, he is entrusting Napoleon's coffin to Louis Philippe. The floor of the crypt contains mosaic pavement inscribed with Napoleon's greatest battles. So anyway, he is inside 6 coffins. So the first coffin is made of tin plate. The second is mahogany. The next 2 are made out of lead. The next one is made out of ebony. And finally, the outside one is made of oak. The whole pedestal and sarcophagus assembly is 14.5 feet high, 13 feet long, and 6.5 feet wide, and weighs 67 tons. Like, I told the dude this, and he's like, he must have made a lot of people some money, which is why they did that for him. He's all like, he must, like, whatever he did, made some people some money. So he's all, it's always money. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like, to me, I would never want anything elaborate like here lies Tara's dead body. Like, just bury me under a tree. I mean, maybe have a cool giant crystal sticking out of the ground and that's like me, but other than that, I don't want like a building erected for me. Like that's so, I don't know, it's kind of creepy. Like I don't want that much attention. This is like keeping a demon locked up. Yes. Yes. Very much so. So anyway, I'm now on the section called flora, which is plants and flowers, and you know what that means when they decorate certain grave sites. So anyway, so very interesting book. You know, if you guys are interested, like some of you said, it is on your wish list. So it was on mine, and I'm very glad that I have it now. Okay, and then I received, like I said, a surprise package from my friend yesterday, which had a couple of decks in it, but there was a deck that I got off of eBay that I didn't even know existed, and I was huge into She-Ra when I was a little kid back in the 80s, and so I got this from Argentina, very cheap, She-Ra cards. It's for a special little game. It's not regular playing cards, but I think I can use them as oracle cards. Yes, She-Ra! So, okay, so first of all, it like slides out, which is pretty cute, pretty cool. And I love on here, it says you can join the Chromie Club. Tell us what school you go to and how old you are. And then it has the directions. I mean, it's all in Spanish, but I can read it. So like if you have 3 or more players, or if you have like 2 or more players, you know how to play the game. And it's kind of an interesting game, but of course I'm not gonna play it that way. I'm gonna use them as oracle cards. But here are the backs. And you got She-Ra there, and it says Chromie, which is, I believe, the publishing company. And then there's letters up at the top. There's like 4 in each suit, like 4 A's, 4 B's, 4 C's, all the way to H. So this was like 30. Oh, plus there's